Hi everyone, Boruto Eggs is back again with another video. And today I have another hot topic to cover, Minato Namikaze vs Tobirama Senju. In this video, I will cover all of their most important feats and see which forms of said characters would beat each other. Seat yourself, grab something to eat, and get ready because this video is going to be long. Let's start off the video by looking at the most important Tobirama AP feats. During the Warring States period, Tobirama was able to kill his Yuna, Madara's brother, by slashing him with a Flying Thunder God Swords attack. That's important because his Yuna was stated to be second only to Madara in strength, and at the time, he was Madara's sparring partner and the only other person with a Mangekyo Sharingan. During the Konoha Crush arc, Orochimaru used an imperfect version of the Edo Tensei, and he was able to bring back Hashirama and Tobirama in a nerf state. The fight started, and Tobirama was able to block and cancel Hiruzen's Dragon's Flame Jutsu with his Water Wall Jutsu. That's insane, because like this random Amber said, there was no water near Tobirama, just dry land, and he still was able to make a jutsu that cancelled Hiruzen's Dragon's Flame. Later in the fight, Tobirama was able to react to another of Hiruzen's attacks and kick him away alongside Hashirama. Edo, Hashirama and Tobirama being a threat to Hiruzen was further confirmed by the fact that Hiruzen himself said that, without sealing them, nothing he did would have mattered. Edo Tobirama, being somewhat relative to old man Hiruzen, is important because even as an old man, Hiruzen was stated to be the strongest Kage amongst the 5 principal great nations. Kishimoto most likely didn't plan the other villagers' Kagis in advance, but feats later in the war arc, such as Edo Hiruzen reacting and almost dodge an unstable Jubito's attack, saving Naruto from the God Tree before Minato and Tobirama, and holding off Guru alone where the other Kagis failed. To do so, all Togeda suggests that he was indeed the strongest. When Orochimaru used the Edo Tensei on the Kagis for the second time, Tobirama was brought back to life closer to his original strength. Upon hearing that Sasuke had in mind to declare vengeance on Konoha, Tobirama started to pump up his chakra. He lifted just one finger, but it was enough to get everyone in the room scared, except for Hashirama and Hiruzen. What's crazy is the fact that we've never seen Suigetsu being that scared, not even against a fully transformed Killer Bee. And as I said before, Tobirama lifted only one finger. And not only that, Suigetsu fought against and saw fighting the likes of Kasame, EMS, Sasuke and Orochimaru, but he never had that reaction. After Alive Madara stealed Hashirama's Sage Mode, he finally acquired the form he wanted and needed to challenge Jubito, and forced the 10 tails out of him. Tobirama went after this version of Madara, and tried to surprise attack him with a Flying Rage and Slash, but Madara was able to dodge his attack and pinned him down off panel. What's important to note is the fact that Tobirama was able to react and dodge one of Madara's attack. He even tanked one of his punches, and his body didn't broke. Some pages later, Tobirama tried to attack Madara with his water needles, and Madara needed to shield his arm with partial Susanoo. That means Madara thought his normal durability wasn't enough to withstand Tobirama's attack. Beforehand, Madara didn't even try to dodge all the attacks that the Bijouists were throwing at him, but against Tobirama, he was always on guard and he dodged or used the Susanoo to defend himself. I know someone will say that Madara was immobilized, but the Bijou fight happened before the Tobirama one, and against Tobirama, he felt that he needed to cover his arms with his partial Susanoo. The craziest feat for Tobirama's AP is the one of him destroying one deity gate with his tandem explosive tags, the same deity gates that were able to hold down the 10 tails and even withstood one of his Bijou bombs. In case you couldn't see the deity gate being shattered, well, I got you with the colored manga panel. Just being near the explosion made mastered KCM1 Naruto, EMS Sasuke and KCM Minato fell on Gamakika's head. Now, there is this popular voice that Tobirama was only able to use his tandem explosive tags because he was an Edo, but that's a trash argument. Tobirama explicitly said that he created the Edo Tensei to perform this particular jutsu, and that it was the first time he used it on himself since he was an Edo and he couldn't die. Right after Tobirama said that, Hiruzen knew which jutsu Tobirama was about to perform, and he called it Lord's Second Special, meaning it was a jutsu that Hiruzen saw Tobirama using once he was alive, and that it was basically his signature move. I know some people will still brag about Tobirama dying against Kinkaku and Jinkaku, the so-called Darui rivals, but that's not an anti-feat at all. The only reason Darui could tag, hurt and seal them in the end was because they were in base form and Edo Tensei nerfed. When Kinkaku went into his Bijou version 2 transformation, I thought that nobody could stop him anymore and they needed to seal him because he was too strong for anyone there. But Boruto eggs, what about that ugly ass dude who was able to send him flying with a punch? First, his name is Kitsuchi, and second, he was the same dude that with his sandwich technique was able to held down the Gedo statue. Kinkaku was basically defeated in a cheap way. He got jumped by the entire first division, and when he was off guard, he got caught by Aino's mind transfer jutsu. At that point, Aino made Kinkaku answer at his name being called, and so they were able to seal him. Something crazy that Kinkaku did was instantly dispatching of Choji, the same Choji who could push back the Gedo statue alongside Chusa and instantly broke free from Shikamaru's shadow paralysis, a feat that only a few characters were ever able to do so in entire show. Also, Jinkaku and Kinkaku were hipped up like crazy. They were direct descendant of Hagoromo. They became pseudo Nine-Tails Jinchuriki just by feeding off of Kuruma's interiors, and they could hold the Sage of Six Paths weapons without major drawbacks, even in base form. The same Sage of Six Paths weapons that were stated to possess a strength that surpassed even the 5 Kage. Plus, when they killed Tobirama, they weren't even alone. There were 20+ rank shinobi aiding them. So yeah, stop downplaying Tobirama because he died to 2 beasts with no any feats. I know that their names and designs were pretty lame, but they weren't weak whatsoever. Now onto the Minato's AP part of the video. John and Minato had a brief fight against I and Killer B. I rushed at top speed against Minato, but Minato was able to teleport away and almost ended off I's life if it wasn't for B saving him. The crazy thing about this feat is the fact that Minato was able to slice through B's tentacle like it was butter. That means, without even using his Rasengan, John and Minato's attack potency was enough to damage B, a perfect Jinchuriki. After Obito summoned Kurama in the village, Kurama was charging up a Bijou bomb at Minato, but Minato was able to react to that Bijou bomb, erect a teleportation barrier and redirect Kurama's attack away. He was able to defeat 14-year-old Obito with a Rasengan combined with his Flying Raijin level 2. However, it wasn't an easy win. Even if Minato did defeat him with one Rasengan, if Obito's attack connected, he would have defeated Minato too in one blow. Minato was so shocked by Obito's achievement in that invasion that he thought he was Madara at first. He even acknowledged that Obito's Kamui surpassed his Flying Raijin, and that Obito could have become a threat more dangerous than the Nine Tails if now one dealt with him at that moment. And lastly, Minato's Rasengan didn't even fatally wound Obito. Obito retreated because Minato marked him and severed his contract with Kurama. The only thing Obito lost was his white Zetsu arm. But that's it. In the chapter synopsis after the Kakuzu fight, it was stated that Naruto took down Kakuzu with a display of power that rivaled Minato himself. Obviously, the display of power in question was the Raisin's Hurricane, but let's see why that's important. During the fight between Kakuzu and Haiden vs Yugido, Kakuzu was able to take an attack from a fully transformed Yugido head-on, without even using his diamond armor. Meanwhile, the Raisin's Hurricane of Naruto was so strong that it killed Kakuzu for the beauty of 2 times, since he destroyed 2 of his hearts in one blow. And since Minato's power was rivaling that same Raisin's Hurricane, Minato would comfortably scale over Yugido, another perfect Jinchuriki. In his KCM form, Minato didn't perform any remarkable AP feat. The only one I can think of is when he combo attacked Jubito alongside Naruto with his massive Rasengan infused with Naruto's Sage energy. As you can see, Jubito's truth-seeking orb, while used defensively, started to crack. However, we can't use this feat since, like I said a moment ago, that Rasengan was amped with Naruto's Sage energy. Without it, Minato would have not damaged Jubito. Sadly, since only Senjutsu worked on him at that point. Now, I'm going to cover their speed, which is probably why this debate is so heated. People wants to see who's the fastest between them. And today, I'm going to make you all happy. I'm going to start with Tobirama once again. During the Jubito fight, Tobirama was able to react to an unstable Jubito's blitz attempt and place the beauty of 5 explosive tags on his body, plus marking him with his Flying Thunder God seal. Keep in mind that KCM Minato didn't even realize that Tobirama was able to do all of that. When Obito was finally able to take full control over the Jubi, he instantly blocked Minato's attack, ripped off his arm and attached a truth-seeking orb in the place of what remained of his arm before Minato could even teleport away with his flying Raijin. Before KCM Minato, EMS Sasuke and mastered KCM1, Naruto could do anything, Tobirama came in clutch, grabbed Obito's truth-seeking orb before it exploded, teleported to Obito and attached it to him. Keep in mind that he did all of that with only a shadow clone. Although Minato was still dazed at that point in time, it's still worth to note that Edo Tobirama showed way better reaction timing and speed than him in KCM1. Also, Tobirama marking Jubito was the only reason a fight against him was possible in the first place, since the only instances in which they did hit him was when Tobirama surprised attack him with his flying Thunder God. Like we saw before, Tobirama was able to react, tank and dodge some of Alive Sage Mode Madara's attacks. That's crazy, because this form was Madara's trump card to defeat Jubito, meaning he should have been stronger and faster than him in order to be able of beating him up. What's even crazier is the fact that after Madara defeated Tobirama, he stated that when he was alive, Tobirama boasted the fastest speed of any shinobi during their times, implying that alive Tobirama, without Edo nerfs, was even faster than alive Madara and Hashirama. Now onto Minato's speed. In his Jonin times, as we saw before, Minato was able to outspeed Ai and almost kill him, had not Bee intervened to save him. Years later, when he was the Hokage, Minato fought against the Nine Tails and 14-year-old Obito. During this encounter, Minato was able to dodge a paw coming from Kurama without even using his flying Thunder God, and later he kept up with Obito in speed. Years passed by, and as we saw in the third data book, I was stated to be comparable to a live Minato in speed during the war arc. This was further supported by C during the 5 Kage Summit, when he stated that the Raikage's nerve transmission and reaction speed were on par with the ones of the Yellow Flash. Alive Minato being in the KCM1 Naruto range of speed is further confirmed by the fact that when Kasame was trying to escape from the Jinchuriki training room, Naruto blitzed him, and B right after that stated that Naruto in that moment was like the Yellow Flash. Another instance where Naruto was directly compared to Minato was during his encounter with Ai, when the Raikage didn't want Naruto to pass behind him and join the war. B, for the second time, stated that Naruto was just like the Yellow Flash after he blitzed Ai, and Tsunade thought the same too. Now, some Minato fans like to use the statement of Kakashi saying that Naruto was just like Minato when he entered his KCM2 form, but that's just not true, since as we saw before, we had many solid statements that confirmed the fact that alive Minato was only in the KCM1 Naruto range of speed. With the master plus question mark, Kakashi was most likely referring to his design, since in his KCM2 form, Naruto had a long cape just like Minato when he was Hokage. As we saw before in the Tobirama section of the video, KCM Minato didn't perform any remarkable speed feat, Jubito just outclassed him in every way possible. And Tobirama too. As we saw before, Minato was still dazed at this point, so let's take a look at his feats after Naruto cheered him up. Bijou Sage Mode Naruto and undazed Minato were able to combo attack Jubito with a giant Rasengan infused with Sage energy at the same time. That was the only time we saw Minato going in KCM2. As you can see, his eyes had not normal pupils as before, but they were like the ones of Naruto when in KCM2. Sadly, this is Minato's best speed feat, since after that he never went KCM2 again, and his other feats like being outsped by Tobirama when they had to save Naruto from the God Tree's roots, and being relative in speed to War Arc Kakashi when they had to kill Black Zetsu are not impressive. Especially when Kakashi was shown to be able to keep up in speed only with White Mask Obito, which was KCM1/KCM2 Naruto level in terms of speed. Now, many people tend to use the feat of base Minato intercepting 10 Tails Madara truth-seeking orbs before 8 Gates Guy got to them in order to wank Minato's speed to the oblivion. But that's one of the most disingenuous and taken out of context feats that I've ever seen in Naruto. First, Minato got in front of Guy by using the flying Raijin and not his raw speed that would simply upscale his reaction speed. Second, Sage Mode Minato, a way stronger version than his base one. Of course, wasn't able to react, block nor dodge Madara's attack some minutes ago. Third, the truth-seeking orbs are not as fast as the user, but slower. We saw this when Kakashi was able to throw a kunai at the same speed of Madara's truth-seeking orb, and when 6 Gates Rock Lee outsped them in the 8 Gates Guy's fight. And by the way, Rock Lee was even able to grab Guy and dodge the orb before it hit him. So yeah, they are not that fast really. Guy wasn't even at top speed, since he was moving by kicking the air and not commonly on the ground. It's not the first time that happened in Naruto. One example is Naruto moving slower on air when he tried to save Himawari from Delta's beam. But Boruto eggs, are you aware that in the anime, Minato got in front and Guy, and he was able to move in slow motion compared to him and twist before teleporting away? Yes, and are you aware that Kishimoto is not involved with the anime unless it's directly stated? In the manga, the most canonical source, Minato just teleported the orbs away without twisting in slow motion. Also, think about it, Minato performed that feat in base while Edo nerfed. When he was alive and in base, his max speed was comparable to the one of 14 years old Obito. It goes without saying that Guy dwarfed that Obito version in strength and speed. You should have already realized by now that Minato teleporting the truth-seeking orbs away before they got to Guy. It's inconsistent and a very bad way to scale Minato's real speed. There is one last thing I want to talk about this feat. Why didn't Minato blitz the shit out of Jubito when he was in KCM 2? If he really was as fast as 8 Gates Guy, he could have done that. But oh well, he did not because he was not even close to that level of speed. Another thing Tobirama headers like to use is the fact that Tobirama himself admitted that Minato's body flicker was faster than his own one. That's okay, however, the body flicker is just a technique that amps the user's speed based on how much chakra they use. The body flicker doesn't make your reaction speed, nor your combat speed faster whatsoever. To confirm this, we can take a look at all the Minato fights. He never spammed the body flicker in actual combat, but more the flying Raijin. The only character famous for using it mid-fights was Shisu. That argument falls flat when you realize that Old Man Hiruzen arrived simultaneously with Hashirama and Tobirama. Does that mean old Hiruzen's fighting and reaction speed is on their level? Obviously no. I'm not saying Hiruzen was weak, but he wasn't as fast as Tobirama and Hashirama at that point. The nail in the coffin is the fact that alive Minato was actually stronger than his Edo base version. And like he himself admitted, he had trouble facing 14 years old Obito and was relative in speed with him. So him being fast in combat speed by using body flicker is directly debunked, since the other Edo Kagis were way faster than 14 years old Obito. All the feats that I showed prior debunk the idea of KCM Minato being faster than Tobirama, let alone his base Edo version. As we all know, feats are generally better than statements. So yeah, having a better body flicker doesn't make Minato faster than Tobirama at all. Also, the databook statement of Minato being regarded as the fastest shinobi ever is just some bullshit taken out of context. He was praised amongst all ninjas as the greatest in speed, yes, but those ninjas who praised him weren't alive during Hashirama's and Tobirama's times, meaning they never saw them in action, so they couldn't really know that they were faster. It's not like those shinobis had videos on YouTube about Hashirama's and Tobirama's speed, or either's clairvoyance to peek into the past and see how fast they really were. But guess what? Madara, a shinobi that lived during the times of Hashirama and Tobirama, has only praised Tobirama for his speed and never Minato. As for their durability, they both are kinda trash. Every time someone had hit them, they instantly became dust or lost a limb or two. Their absolute best durability feats were for Tobirama to tank an attack from a live Sage Mode Madara with one Rinnegan, and for Minato, tanking a kick from one Rinnegan Jubidara. Now, I know what you're thinking, Minato has more durability. Since he tanked an attack that was coming from Jubidara, Tobirama can't harm him. But that's so wrong. First, Minato isn't really proficient with Sage Mode. Kakashi said that and Minato reconfirmed it. Second, Minato said that it takes him too long to build up Sage energy, meaning that against a faster opponent, in this case Tobirama, he wouldn't be able to tap into his Sage Mode at all. So yeah, even in regards of durability, Minato is at a huge disadvantage. As for their intelligence, I think it could go either way. Minato has the highest scores ever registered in the written tests at the Ninja Academy. Tobirama didn't even go to an academy. He was slaughtering Yukia at his age, so we can't say who would have scored better. For their battle IQ, I'd give the edge to Tobirama. He fought in more wars, and against Jubato, he caught up on things better and was the initiator of every attack against him. For example, when he instantly caught the fact that Jubato was weak against senjutsu-based attacks. Or even when he orchestrated the plan to hit Jubato with the Kagutsuchi Raisen's Hurricane of Naruto and Sasuke, he instantly caught the fact that Obito's truth-seeking orbs had the capacity to nullify every jutsu. Now, let's take a look at their abilities. I'm going to start with Tobirama once again. Tobirama was the inventor and a master of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He invented the Flying Thunder God too, which is one of his best techniques. He even created the Edo Tensei Jutsu and the combination of the tandem explosive tags alongside with it. Other than these three main abilities, Tobirama can create water needles that can catch the enemy off guard. And he has a variegated amount of water-style jutsus that can come in handy. Yes, I almost forgot, but he's a sensory ninja too, and a very skilled one, since he could sense Madara's chakra from countries away. For Minato, we know that he's a very skilled body flicker user, and thanks to that, he's faster than Tobirama. If we talk about travel speed, he has mastery over the Flying Thunder God, and in certain aspects of it, he's better even than Tobirama. Obviously, he can use the jutsu that he personally created, the Rasengan, and some of its variants, like the giant one he used against Jubato. We know that Minato studied the powerful sealing techniques of the Uzumaki clan, and Kushina taught him personally how to use the tetragram seal on Naruto's belly, and some minor and unknowns other seals. Keep in mind that the Reaper Death Seal is a non-factor in this battle, because Minato would die too eventually after using it. Minato is good at Shadow Clones, he has access to Sage Mode, and Kyuubi Chakra Mode if we are talking about his Edo Tensei form. However, the problem still remains, his Sage Mode is whack and not something he's proficient at. He didn't even use it in his death match against 14-year-old Obito. The whole village and possibly the entire world would have been at risk if Minato didn't stop Obito. But he still didn't use Sage Mode because it wasn't practical and he could have failed his combos and eventually lose. Being the Nine Tails Jinchuriki would obviously give him good healing capabilities and exponentially larger chakra reserves. Now, after all those feats and statements, it's time to compare each form of them and declare the final winner. Let's start with their weaker forms. Alive Minato versus Edo Tobirama. I'll be blunt, this is a one-sided stomp in Tobirama's favor. Alive Minato's best speed was keeping up with 14-year-old Obito. On the other hand, Edo Tobirama could react to Jubato's attacks, and he had better speed feats than even KCM Minato, who is way stronger than his Alive version. Edo Tobirama would simply blitz and one-shot this version of Minato. Minato would insta-die like his unit did. Now, who would win between Edo Tobirama and KCM Minato? The answer is simple, it's Tobirama once again. The best speed feat for Minato, as we saw before, would put him in the KCM 2+ Sage Mode Naruto range. On the other hand, Tobirama has shown to be able to react and dodge attacks coming from Jubato and Alive Sage Mode Madara, who both are stronger and faster than the KCM 2+ Sage Mode Naruto that Minato was relative with. Let alone the fact that Tobirama's AP is leagues above the one of Minato, as we saw before Tobirama could blow up a deity gate that withstood the Ten Tails Bijou Bomb. Minato's best AP feat comes from when he slashed White Mask Obito, since like we saw before, he didn't really damage anyone when he was in KCM, and the only time he did, he got helped by Naruto and his Sage Energy. Some unknown seals and better travel speed aren't helping Minato when he simply would get overwhelmed in both speed and attack potency. The sealing aspect is very good in this matchup, and Minato is clearly famous for them since I knew it. And it's not like Minato told him he was good at them while they were in a bar drinking some beer. However, we simply don't know much of what other important seals he could use, other than the Reaper Death Seal and the 8 trigrams one, so they are irrelevant because we do not have any knowledge about them. Now, for Alive Tobirama versus KCM Minato. It's even worse than before for Minato. this time Tobirama has no Edo nerfs, meaning he would be even stronger and faster than the form we used to take all of his feats from. Believe me, it pains me to say that Tobirama wins because I like Minato way more, but that's reality. Feats and statements speak for themselves. Like, the meta of Minato being faster than 8 Gates Guy is almost as bad as the metas Bleach fans use to get their characters to Galaxy or Universal level. This is generally a biased matchup too. Minato is a fan favorite character, he even won the Naruto popularity contest. So yeah, people think he's stronger because he's a much more likable character. But you know, likability doesn't relate to strength. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I gave the best feats for both of them without wanks and inconsistencies. If you liked the video, consider subscribing and don't miss the next ones. Peace.